Hey YouTubians, it's Tony here from We Try Anything, channel likes try anything so you don't have to. Today's video we're going to be talking about this very watch that I've got behind me, which is the CASIO F-201WA, which has a module number of 3196, and I've got it here just to show you. Now in this video what we'll be doing, we'll be taking a look at the materials that make up this watch, talking about the design of the watch, showing you some of the functions and popping it on our wrist and saying what it's like to wear. Now it is an eBay purchase, so the reason why I buy watches from eBay is just so you can see how they wear over time, and this is no exception really. The only thing I will say is I did have to buy these straps brand new because what came with the watch was very non-standard Casio straps, so just bear that in mind. They are brand new straps, and if anything that will help, because obviously the watch that you will get will be brand new if you do buy it from Amazon, which I've popped an Amazon affiliate link below, or if you do get it off eBay or any other shop that you have got near you. Now what I will say is that this watch is also available in a couple of other colorways, which I'm just quickly showing you here. You've got this one, which has got the black with the little gold edging around the actual digital display. I believe you've just got a black version, and also you've got one which has got a silver case to it with black straps, if my memory serves me right. So with no further ado, let's take a closer look at the CASIO F-201WA Digital Watch. First of all, let's discover if this watch is for you and your wrist by talking about the CASIO F-201WA sizes. The case size from left to right is 34mm. That's not taking into account the pushes that you can see either side. If you want to take them into account, you are looking at a total size of approximately 36mm from left pusher to right. Look to look, or top of the case to the bottom of the case, you are looking at a size of 41mm, which in my opinion makes this watch suitable for a lot of wrists, and I will be trying it out later on this video to see what it's like on my 6.5 inch wrist. Depth wise, it's quite a shallow watch to wear at only 10.5mm thick, which allows it to sneak under sleeve garments such as hoodies, long sleeve shirts, etc. really. So it would be an easy daily wearable watch in my opinion. Now the inner lug width, just quickly turning it around, you are looking at from the inner parts here from left to right that I'm indicating with my finger, you are looking at about 18mm in terms of width. Now what I will say, with it being 18mm, yes, you can get some 18mm strap for this watch, but this watch has a flare out to this strap, so if you was to get like a straight 18mm, what I would say, it would look quite odd, so just bear that in mind if you are looking for other straps for this watch. Now as we are talking about the straps, I might as well quickly touch on the size of these straps themselves. Now where the straps flares out, which is what I've just mentioned, you are looking at a size of 21mm there and there, and it does taper out to about what would be 16.5mm either side, as you can see here. Now lengthwise, the top strap measures from the case there to what would be the pin and buckle here, you're looking at about 80mm. Now following that, the bottom strap, which measures from, I've measured from the case there to what would be the bottom there, you are looking at 122mm in length. Now materials wise, the strap is made up of a very nice, what I would say, supple plastic resin. Now obviously with this being brand new, you can't see any marks or anything like that, but it is nice and supple, and it's not low rent. It's quite, you know, there is some quality there. But just to mention that this is a brand new strap that I have bought for this watch, so just depending on the one that you do pick up, it may alter slightly. Now on the reverse of the strap, it is smooth, and I mean it's a bit of a dust trap as well, so just bear that in mind. It is smooth, there's no extrusions or anything what would kind of grip it to your wrist. On the other side, what you are looking at is like a very nice, what would be textured indent, which you can see here. So it's a nice simple strap that does complement this watch very well. Now let's move on to the case. It is the usual black plastic affair that you would come to expect from Casio at this price point, and while it does have some slight texturing just to here, as you can see in the reflection of the ring light that I've got just highlighting this watch, it isn't too fussy on the whole, and I do find its simplicity of design quite refreshing to look at. Also, what's quite nice with this watch is that Casio hasn't emblazoned at the top, well, what'll be at the top or the bottom, things like illuminator or 10-year battery life or anything like that. Now while it does look a bit sporty if it's in white text on some watches, in this watch it does not dumb it down, but it does kind of make it a bit more simpler and easier to read from, and it's not shouting at you, which is quite nice. Muted would be the word I would look for in this instance. And also what I like, you've got what would be embossed on the sides or just on the border of the display. You've got what the operations of each of the pushers do, and it's just nice, just little text emblazoned there. So it's a nice little touch from Casio on this, what I would say is a very simplistic digital watch to look at. Now, the other thing to mention with the plastic case is that it is prone to scratching, as you can see here. Now, again, it doesn't really bother me on the whole. These watches are very affordable, and they are designed for what I would say is daily use and daily wear. And if you are going to get a bit offended by receiving scratches on your watch, then these probably aren't the watches for you. And the same will go with what will be the display window that we got here. Now, it is a resin crystal as well, so like an acrylic resin crystal, and they are, as you can see in the reflection of the ring light, you can see that it has picked up scratches along the way. And that's why I do like to show these watches from eBay, because you do get to see how they wear. Now, this watch in particular has worn quite well, so I would say it just depends on how you treat or how you see your watches. If you're not that bothered about scratches on a watch, then go for it, go for these type of watches. And if anything, I find that the scratches do add a little bit of character because they have been worn. Now, additional to what would be the case, you do have the 4 pushers that I've mentioned earlier, and they are quite nice and big, and also very easy to operate and access, so just easy to flick through what would be the many functions that this watch has got built in. So if you find the little metal pushers that you get on some of the Casios a little bit fiddly, then this watch may be the watch for you in terms of how easy they are to operate. Turning the watch around, you will find that the usual stainless steel case back, which is affixed to the watch with 4 Phillips screws that you got here. Now, you get the usual engraved text on this watch as well, obviously mentioning Casio, the model number, the module, etc., stainless steel back, and also the fact that it is water resistance, made in China, and DH as well, whatever that means. Now, the water resistance, this watch is only water resistant, so it's not water resistant up to a certain, or it doesn't mention a certain atmospheric pressure or anything like that, or a certain water resistance or depth or anything like that. It is just water resistant, and I would say, just as a rule of thumb, if you are near water with this watch and you say you're going to go swimming or for a shower or washing up or anything that involves water, I'd probably take this watch off. And that's what I do, and I do that with watches that have got water resistant. It's just a little habit that I've got into. So personally, I wouldn't have this watch near water because it doesn't mention any form of depth, but that's totally up to you. Now, contained behind what would be that stainless steel back, you do have a CR2025 battery. Now, that battery is capable of powering this plus and minus 30-second a month quartz enabled CASIO F-201WA for up to 10 years from brand new, making it an accurate companion for years to come. So carrying on with the display design on this watch, I've got to say I really do like its simplicity, the way it looks. And just highlighting what would be the LCD digital display area just around here, it doesn't shout or scream anything that normally Casio would shout and scream. So obviously you've got all the decals here for, mentioning dual time, 10-year battery, water resistance, etc. The Casio logo illuminating the 5 alarms. The only thing that stands out is the little dual time text and the 5 alarm text here, and I find that very, very unique for Casio, because Casio tend to have loads of shouty text and stuff like that, but in this instance it's really nice in how it works. And also what I love about it is the colorway. So what you've got is the gold outline colorway going around the actual display of the watch, and it is complemented as well with the Casio logo and some of the other decals in this watch, which make this watch work really well. And also just doesn't fight with each other in terms of reading the digital display or learning the time or anything. It just complements each other really well. Now, moving on to what would be the digital display, I've got to say I find this digital display very, very easy to read. And it's easy to read in the way that you can get the information off the watch by just what would be a quick glance. So you've got obviously the date or the day of the week at the top, what would be the month, the date within the month, and then you've got the time just underneath it. And just below that, and I'll just slowly move in, you've got all the alarm indicators here. So you'd have snooze, obviously alarm 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 with this watch having 5 alarms. one of which has a snooze function added to it as well. And also you do have the hourly signal shown below, and I'll show you them how they will look later on when I just show you the alarms activated. But it does have a very easy layout to it, and what's also nice is that all of it is just kind of just sectioned off with these thin outlines as well, so it does give you a very approachable, easy to operate, or easy to just quickly glean the time from. The other thing to mention with the digital display is that there's very little in terms of the ghosting effect. Now there's some watches that I have featured on this channel, and I know I am kind of reflecting some of the lighting that I do use to highlight these watches, but you can see there's minimal in terms of ghosting on this watch. So if you was in a meeting and you wanted to have a quick cheeky look at the time on this watch, then you can easily do so, and it really is good for that. And I'll just quickly just move the watch in a little bit more so you can see that display a bit better, and yet you can't see, well, the ghosting is minimal. I mean, I've got to put it at a real extreme angle for you to see that, but otherwise just such an easy watch to read the time from, which is fantastic for a watch at this price point, which again, as I think I've said, is £30 to £35. Now, while we're still talking about the digital display, this watch has what's known as a backlight. Now the LED backlight, I'm just going to move it over, but the LED backlight is just there. It's a green LED just down to the bottom left hand corner. Now in this instance, and I'm showing you just how it will look in darkness and semi-darkness, it's not very bright. I'm not too sure if it's the battery on this, might be a little bit depleted. I did try and change the battery earlier, but unfortunately I don't have any CR2025s in stock. But again, I'm just showing you here, it's not brilliant, and sometimes my camera does tend to show the backlighting up a lot more than what you would see in real life. Now with the lighting, you do have what's known as afterglow as well, which means that once you press the button, you have like a little second of extended illumination. So that's what Casio calls with its afterglow. But again, as I say, that LED backlight, it's not the best. As well as the backlight, this watch also features what will be 12 and 24 hours by just pressing that bottom right hand button. But obviously you won't see any difference because we're in the what will be AM time. But if you are in a PM time, it will either be P for what will be if you're in 12 hours, but if you're in 24 hours, it'll be like 1300, etc. onwards. So it does have what will be the 12 and 24 hour formats, or known as military time in the USA. And also it does have built into it an automatic calendar that once set will take into account any leap years, etc. up to 2099. Now the only thing to highlight with this watch is that it doesn't feature daylight saving time, which I thought I would mention just in case you are after a watch with that feature. This doesn't have it, unfortunately. Now, as well as the features and functions I've just mentioned, the Casio F-201WA also has the following built into its felt 3196 module. First of all, it has what would be a suite of multifunctional alarms. Now it has what would be up to 5 multifunction alarms, one of which has the snooze function, which is alarm 1. Now as you can see, I'm just quickly flicking through the 5 alarms that you can see here, and it also has an hourly signal. Now the multifunction alarms allow for what would be a daily alarm, an alarm that you can set on a date, a 1 month alarm, and a monthly alarm. Now if you want to find out how to use them, I have linked to the instructions in the description box below, but there will be a tutorial video on this watch coming very soon, so I'll show you how to use them in that tutorial video. Now you can activate them, and as you can see down the bottom, which I mentioned earlier, is that the alarms are highlighted to say that they are active. So alarm 1's highlighted, alarm 2, alarm 3, alarm 4 and alarm 5, so you can see which alarms are activated. And also you can see the hourly signal just down the bottom, which has got it mentioned SIG. And if you wanted to see the snooze alarm with alarm 1 activated, you can activate the snooze alarm. So if you are in what would be timekeeping mode or any other mode, you can see which alarms are activated, just in case you was wondering why your watch was going off. So I'll just quickly go back into the alarm and then turn all those alarms off, because I don't want it going off at certain times in the day. And it is a very nice full featured alarm set that you do get on this watch. Now this watch also has built into it a countdown timer. Now if I just quickly move it onto the next mode, as you can see indicated by the TR at the top. Now the measuring unit for this countdown timer is a second, and it will count down from 24 hours, which I'm showing you here. Now the user settable time, it will go from 1 minute up to the 24 hours that I've just mentioned earlier. Now the beauty of this watch is that not only will it allow you to count down from a certain user settable time up to 24 hours, which I can just quickly show you as I'm adjusting here, this watch will also allow you to set what is known as an auto repeat. So I've just set it for 1 minute, and if I just press this top right hand button, you can see the auto repeat function has been activated. Now I'll just talk about that while that's counting down. Now what auto repeat allows this watch to do is, say for example, if you are doing what's known as interval training. Now if you are doing say reps or a certain exercise that takes 5 minutes and you need a 5-minute cool down, then this watch will help you accommodate that. So it'll indicate over a certain amount of time, you know, the 5 minutes are up with the beeps and stuff like that, and then what it does, it starts to count down again for 5 minutes, or in this case what would be 1 minute. So as you can see, the time is going down here, and I'll just quickly speed it up just so you can hear the watch or see the watch reset. And as you can see, it's getting to 1 and then it's beeping away, but the timer has reset, so it's starting again. And as I say, I'll just quickly, that beep is going to end now. So it's got a 10-second beeper. So as you can see, that time is reset and it's going to start again. So I don't want the beeper to go off again, and I'll just quickly reset it. So it's very, very handy if you are into interval training, or you need something where the timer needs to be constantly resetting and obviously counting down again. So it's just a great little function that this watch has got built in. And in this price point, you probably won't find it on a lot of Casios around the 20 to 30 pound, well, the £30 mark. So very, very useful indeed. The next function that this watch has got, it's the stopwatch function. Now this watch will count what would be 1/100th of a second, which I'm just showing you here at the top right hand corner, and it does have a measuring capacity of up to 24 hours. Now this one, obviously this is doing the elapsed time, but this watch will also allow you to do what is known as split times, as well as 2 finish times. So I'll just quickly stop that and reset it. So very, very handy little stopwatch as well. The other function that this watch has got, or what would be the final function that I'm going to talk about in this video, is where you can set what's known as dual time, which is what the DT stands for. Now dual time it's what would be an independent time of your main local time, and that allows you to set a separate time. So for example, you are communicating with business associates or loved ones in a different part of the world that have a different time zone to you. You can change this time here so it is either hours and minutes ahead or hours and minutes behind. The only thing you can't change, which is synchronized with the main local time, or what would be in timekeeping mode, is the seconds. Those are constant with each other. But other than that, you can change these 2 time scenarios here so they can reflect, as I say, a world time in a different part of the world. So that's all the functions of this watch that I'm going to talk about. But what the next thing I'm going to talk about with this watch is what it's like on the wrist. Now here it is on my 6.5 inch wrist, and I've got to say it is a great watch to wear. It's very comfortable, and even with that brand new strap that you can see here, it's so flexible in terms of it wrapping around your wrist. Basically, you don't feel it pinching or anything like that, and it doesn't feel like it's a watch that needs to be embedded or kind of be worn to loosen up. It is just straight from the off. And also you do get a lot of holes on this strap, on the bottom part of the strap, so there's a lot of room for maneuver depending on your wrist. But as I say, on my 6.5 inch wrist, it is a very comfortable watch to wear. Now hand inhibition, no, I can't feel it, and if anything, with it not being too wide, you can't feel it on your wrist at all. And the one other thing to mention is that with this watch being just 23.5 grams, it's so easy to forget that you've got this on your wrist, because it obviously is very lightweight. Now in terms of its looks, it looks great. I mean, that gold band that just surrounds the digital display, it just really highlights this watch a lot more than what I would imagine would be just the kind of all black version or the silver case version, which I think just, it doesn't kind of cheapen it a little. But I think this one is the one to go for if you are looking for a watch with just a little bit of zing or a little bit of style to how this watch looks. Now the digital display, when it's on the wrist, you can see that it is very easy to read, and that ghosting, it's just minimal really. So if I just do it from a distance, as you can see, it's super easy to read the time from, the date, the day, etc. Overall, I would say this is a very nice Casio to own. It's affordable, it's fully featured, very nice to look at and wear on a daily basis. As I've mentioned, the display is simple to read, even at a distance, as I've shown you, and the information is presented in a super logical, easy to understand way. Now, the only downsides with this watch is that the water resistance, it may put a few people off, because obviously it's not as versatile as some of the other watches that I have featured on the channel. Now, as I've said, if you're after a very affordable Casio digital watch that can help you with interval training, has 5 alarms, dual time, 24-hour countdown timer with auto repeat, and a stopwatch, then you really can't go wrong with this CASIO F-201WA. And it just gets the big old thumbs up from me. Such a great watch to own. So I hope this video was of some use to you, and if it was, then please click on the like button, always helps the channel. If you want to see more videos from the We Try Anything channel, then please click on the subscription button, including a tutorial video of this watch coming very soon. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Goodbye.